I'm Josh Cooperman, and this is Convo by Design, with a conversation about going home. You've heard the old adage, you can't go home again, derived from the Thomas Wolfe novel published in 1940 posthumously. It's true, you can't go home again, because so much changes in your absence. Home just isn't home anymore. You might like it there, but it's not going to be the same. I went home recently to Manhattan Beach. And it's true, things change, but not everything. And sometimes change is good. I love Manhattan Beach. One of the things I missed most after we moved to Oklahoma was walking down the Greenbelt with the kids and getting dinner downtown Manhattan Beach, followed by a trip to the creamery for an ice cream sandwich, the likes of which you just can't find anywhere else. While I was there, I had a chance to stop by Brewco to speak with Michael Zislis, restaurateur, developer, and MB devotee. He loves Manhattan Beach, just like I do. So much so that through his restaurant and hotel development has almost single-handedly reshaped the city for the better over the past 30 years. We talked about the redevelopment of Brewco in particular, an eatery on Manhattan Beach Boulevard, and an iconic spot for those who've lived there or those who've come to visit over the years. You're going to hear that, and then you're going to hear from Noelle Isbell. This is amazing. Manhattan Beach designer who took on the Brewco project in absolutely amazing fashion, called her shot, and delivered a spot that is representative of Manhattan Beach's past, present, and hopefully its future. Turns out, you can go home again. Even if it's not exactly the same. If you love design, you're going to love this story. If you're a designer, this is how you go and get that project you have always wanted. You know, it's funny. At a lot of the events I do, I end interviews and conversations with a little bit of manifestation, asking designers and architects, what's a project that you've always wanted to work on? Manifesting gives you clarity. Clarity gives you confidence. Confidence gives you the ability to go ask for things maybe that you've never had before. And this is exactly how it's done, and you're going to hear all about it right after this. I am just incredibly proud of this partnership I've got with Thermosol. They have been presenting partners of Convo by Design going on 5 years now, and there is a certain amount of pride that comes with saying that the show is presented by the company that is the best in the world at what they do. Thermosol engineers the most exceptional smart shower products and steam shower systems worldwide, full stop. And it's for a few reasons. First of all, they were the first company to design and patent the technology here in the United States, dating back to 1958. Thermosol, a US-based manufacturer based in Round Rock, Texas, employs an engineering team that designs, tests, and continuously refines the product. Their quality control team tests every single steam generator before it departs the factory. Who else does that? Nobody that I know of. I have the pleasure of working with some world-class designers and architects who tell me, and if you're in the business, you know this, that the idea of luxury has changed, especially when clients want a spa-like bathroom. Steam is mandatory, or it's just not considered a luxury. And if you want to add steam, you have only one true option, my opinion, and that's Thermosol. Mitch Altman, third-generation CEO of this family-owned company of 65 years, continues to innovate in the bathroom and shower space through technological marvels such as intelligent showering systems, sound therapy, aromatherapy, technical interfaces, and so much more. And now Thermosol, the industry leader in steam bath equipment and technology since 1958, as I mentioned, is enhancing its already stellar family of products with the new indoor and outdoor luxury saunas, available in 3 designs. The configurations are absolutely amazing, and you should probably go check them out. indoor and outdoor options. It's amazing. You really do need to check them out. Go to thermosol.com or at thermosol on the socials. Were you ever in a band?
No, but I toured with Kiss for 10 years now, 12 years.
Isn't that great? Do you know what's funny? When and that's because you do all the rock and brews with Gene and Paul. When I was the general manager of Playboy Radio, we had a sponsorship with the LA Kiss.
The football team.
The arena football team. And that was so much fun.
Doc McGee was involved in that.
Yeah. And what I loved about it, too, was so it's funny because before you got here, just having some conversations about... So I grew up in the Valley, moved out to Manhattan Beach. My family started moving out in the 70s. I moved out when I was 18. I have worked at and gotten fired from just about every restaurant concept up and down Manhattan Beach Boulevard. I worked at Manhattan Coolers, worked at Cafe Pierre.
Worked,
Yeah, that's who fired me. And worked at Hennessy's, bartending, and worked the door, Hermosa, Redondo, and Manhattan. And one of the things that I think is so special, opened Houston's.
That's a big difference from the other restaurants.
Oh, huge. I didn't get fired from there.
Yeah, that's a real restaurant.
It's an amazing place, and that's where I learned what hospitality was. Service industry.
I would say if there's any company that does hospitality best, it's Meyer in New York, Danny Meyer, and Hillstone Group.
And when I think about home, I think about Manhattan Beach. And I think about a lot of the changes. And I feel like since the pandemic, one of the things that a lot of people have realized is that hospitality has changed. And once something's taken away from you, then you want it. And you want it back, and you want it bad. I think about Metlocks before Shade. I think about when it was just fenced off and we didn't have the anchor to that amazing community space. The restaurants up and down Manhattan Beach Boulevard. This is what I think about. I think about home, and I think about the design, and I think about the food. That, to me, is what makes the concept. And so that's one of the reasons why I was really excited to talk to you for the show, because the design and the food, I feel like, are equal partners. If one isn't right, the other doesn't work.
Well, I think that was an oasis of bad food. If you go back to the places you worked before, nothing against them, but the level of culinary and hospitality was kind of low. So I remember when I first opened this restaurant 38 years ago, I didn't have to know that much. I knew how to make beer. I knew how to throw a pizza. I knew how to cook wings. And that's all I needed to know. Service was like, I remember when I first opened Brewco, gosh, I was 21 years old. 38 years ago, something like that. And we didn't even have servers. We just had a cash register in the back, and we thought, who needs servers? And then people walked in, they go, it'd be a little better if there was someone that could take a drink or a food order. So then I didn't know anything about hospitality, so we started hiring servers and bartenders. We always had bartenders, but then we hired servers. And not that we were the greatest restaurant, but we were a good restaurant, and we were consistent and hospitable. And I think that's the thing that was always lacking, was hospitality. And then Manhattan Beach slowly evolved. And I remember when I opened Rockin' Fish across the street, or next door, that was kind of what I would say was the first major change in Manhattan Beach. So then all of a sudden, the people that knew to live here like you, they all worked on the west side. You worked downtown, you said, that way. Everybody was working in the west side of LA, the valley, but they were living down by the beach. And they would eat on the west side. They'd eat in Hollywood, and they'd eat downtown, but they wouldn't eat Manhattan Beach. And that changed. And as it got better and better, then the Sims come into town. Now, they already had the Kettle, but then they started building great restaurants. And then we built the Strand House, and we built the Shade Hotel. And all that changed the town. And then everybody that was moving here or living here just stayed here. And then with the pandemic, they found out they didn't have to go to their office downtown. And if they did, they only had to go 1 or 2 days a week. So now you see the lobby of Shade full of people on their computers working, having meetings. It's all being done at the beach now.
And I think that's okay. By the way, you and I are sitting down today at Brewco, and tomorrow I'll be sitting with Noelle, designer, who designed the space. She did an exquisite job.
Incredible job.
And what's so interesting and amazing is, and you know, just looking around, it's the color palette. It's honoring the original brick. It's honoring and respecting the original brick, or at least it looks like this is the original brick.
It's the original brick. It's the original timbers. We added a new floor. The old floors were a mistake. We put in wood, and just so you know, a wood floor next to a beach is a mistake because the sand from your flip-flops takes the finish off. Every 6 months we had to refinish the floors. So we went to an outdoor terrazzo stone, and that should last 100 years. It lasts in Italy, should last here for hundreds of years.
So how, it gets me wondering too, when you think about a concept, be it an existing concept, a Shade, or a new, or a concept like Brewco, which is an existing concept with a refresh, because you have to update, you have to refresh a concept. How do you feel? How do you think about that? How do you approach it?
Well, I think COVID had a lot to do with the changing of everything, and I say that because first of all, labor changed. It's almost non-existent. And then the labor rates changed. Oh, it's only for national chains. That's baloney. If you raise the rate to $20 an hour for a cook at a McDonald's, you got to pay $24 at the beach because it's harder and it's harder to park and it's harder to get to. So that's one of the issues. So now you have to elevate the concept because you can't make it on a $14 burger anymore. You have to bring in the pastas, the nice piece of fish, the shrimp, all those things got to come in, nicer appetizers, a cocktail program. You need to drive revenue. And then people used to love to sit in a dark tavern. Well, since COVID, when you're sitting outside, everybody wants light now. They want skylights. They want whitewashed walls. They want lighter furniture, not that heavy Irish pub feel that people were quite content with 10 years ago. But that's over with. So that's what I liked so much about Noelle's design.
Tell me about, as a restaurateur, your relationship with the designer, because I would imagine that it's very similar to that of yours with your executive chefs or any of your chefs.
Well, I've had the same designer for all my hotels and restaurants, Larry Drayson. And this is the first time I brought in a second designer. So she actually made me a proposal, and an unsolicited proposal. And I liked it so much I had to hire her. When she brought me the drawings, I fell in love with them instantly. And so did Larry, for that matter. And it was the first time I worked with a new designer, and it was an interesting dynamic, but hopefully when you interview her tomorrow, she'll tell you she had as much fun as I did, because it was really a fun experience working with somebody new.
I imagine it would be, for a lot of reasons. And again, because I love design as much as I do, I can find similarities and correlations between the design and architecture of a building and the design and architecture of a meal, of a dish, of the way that it's plated, the way that it's prepared, the way that it's ideated to get to what it is before it gets to the table, because it creates the experience. I feel the same way about the design of a concept. Because you worked with a single designer for as long as you did, was there any discomfort at all working with new talent?
There was a little trepidation. I was a little nervous, but we learned how to work together. So the first month or so might have been a little, she'd bring me a bar stool that was $4,000, and I said to her, there's, maybe in your home if you had 4 bar stools, you'd spend $4,000, but when you have to buy 40 bar stools, it's never going to happen. And then you also have to think about what you have to replace, because there's, usage and breakage in a restaurant. But for me, I just have a great team of, I have VP of marketing, I have a VP of culinary, a VP of this. So they were able to come pick the knives and forks with me. Like, bring me these great samples. Bring me all these great different plates, glassware. Like, to me, one of my favorite things about the restaurant's the glassware. That we have these different style glasses for each cocktail. And then I put it in a situation where I know how busy a restaurant is. So they bring me this crystal cut bucket glass for a scotch and a big rock, or tequila and a big rock. Well, I pick one that's glass that looks 85% of the way of crystal, but it'll last. Because in a restaurant, you're so busy. If you have crystal stemware, it'll shatter when you put it in the dishwasher. You're so busy. So I'm just really proud of all the different things we picked, because these restaurants are busy.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is, regardless of the expense of the tab at the end of the meal, in a community like this, you still get flip-flops at a fine dining experience. So the experience has to match the individuals for whom you're entertaining.
Well, and those individuals, the wealthiest of them all here in town, show up in flip-flops and probably dress the worst. So yeah, you've always got to be accommodating. We have very few rules. Maybe you can't come in just a straight bikini, or a straight bathing suit with no shirt on. But for the most part, I always laugh, because you go to there's a couple of dive bars here in Manhattan Beach, and you walk in and you got a founder of a shoe company sitting at the bar in flip-flops and shorts. You got the big private equity guy sitting at the bar in shorts and flip-flops. So you never know who you're sitting next to in Manhattan Beach.
Listen, I just want you to know that if anyone ever threatens to remove Irks from the city of Manhattan Beach, this guy will have a problem with that. I mean, and I'm not alone.
No, people love their Urkeles. They love their shellback. They're just mainstays. And that's one of the things why the name Brewco stayed. When I was changing the name, there was a lot of pushback from the community. Why are you changing it? And I had to explain to them, I need to change it for the next 30 years. And we came up with a way to keep the name.
When you think about concepts, especially locally, well, let me ask you this: do you design differently for Manhattan Beach than you would someplace else?
Absolutely. So the beach cities will tend to eat lighter fare, salads, vegetarian dishes. Everything's a little lighter. And when I go into the Midwest, it's cheese curds on the menu with the appetizer. I'm just telling you, it's very different. Chicken fried steak and gravy, like we would never do a biscuits and gravy for breakfast in Manhattan Beach, but when I get to Oklahoma, it's one of the best selling items. So you have to know what your market is. But people just eat healthier. A lot of gluten-free. So the menu skews about 80% gluten-free, but it also plays heritage to my beer past. I'm a brewer by trade. It was a brewery when I first opened here. So we have like Wiener Schnitzel. We have rotisserie chicken. So if you're at the Hofbrau House in Germany, you get a rotisserie chicken or Wiener Schnitzel. You can get that here, but you can also get a cavatelli pasta. You can get lighter fare as well. A Mediterranean salad, just delicious. I love the food. And the sushi rolls, that's the thing that I knew I wanted them. I didn't know how popular they'd be. Those are our number one selling item.
I love hearing that, because when you don't know how well something's going to sell, it means that it's not totally and completely predictable. And if it's not totally and completely predictable, you can ideate and try a new concept, because what if? There's always the what if.
Well, you check the data. And what I mean by that is I put a filet on, beautiful filet here. It's coming off the menu next week. I'm replacing it with a steak frites. So this town doesn't want to come to this place for a filet. They want a steak frites. I'm hoping that's what I'm putting on next. And I'm adding another sushi roll, because the sushi's just, it's like, a lot of people order bread for a table. Now they order a sushi roll for a table.
And it's interesting too, and I feel like, and that's part of what excites me most about sort of what I do, because I love talking to designers and I love talking to architects, because I always learn something. The moment you think you know everything, someone is going to come along and prove that you don't. And that's what makes life exciting. And that's what's so cool about it. But again, kind of back to the design and the design concept in correlation to a restaurant concept. It's funny, I will talk to designers all the time. And one of the things that I love to talk to them about is to ideate something that they would love to design that they haven't designed yet. And restaurants is always on the list.
Well, I think it should be on their list because it's a place where a lot of people enjoy themselves. So let's just say I went to a house the other day. Somebody invited me over for I'd never been to their house. It was a beautiful house, designed beautifully. But probably 10 people get to see their house a year. You know, you design a space like a hotel or a restaurant, thousands of people get to see your designs. So like the other day I was here and there was a couple, gentleman that lives on the Strand here in Manhattan Beach, and his wife and daughter were here. And they knew Noelle designed it, and they liked it so much they're going to reach out to her for remodeling their house. So it's also a good calling card for her to show her abilities because the place is stunning.
You know what, Michael? Not only is it stunning, but it's hard for me to describe the manner in which it was designed, the layout. It is hospitality, but it has a residential feel. And I think that's one of the things that has come out of, in a post-pandemic environment. People feel like the restaurants that they go to, they feel a certain ownership, like it's home in a way. Or whether it's the Strand House or it's Shade or Rock and Fish, isn't that the goal?
It's theirs.
Yeah.
They lay claim to it.
Yeah.
And they've been coming here for years. So, there's a lady that comes in here, soccer mom, so to speak, just because her kids play soccer and she loves soccer. I know we were talking about soccer earlier, but she drinks a certain beer. It's called a Franziskaner. And every time she'd walk by during construction, she goes, "You're going to have the Franziskaner, aren't you? You're going to keep the Franziskaner." Like she lobbied for it for the 90 days we were closed. And guess what we have on?
Franziskaner.
Yeah.
There's got to be some joy in that too.
Oh, but look, that's hospitality. Last night I ate at Rock and Fish with some friends, and then the people at the bar that I've known for 20 years sitting at the bar like, "Mike, we love this, it's our favorite place." And one day I'll have to remodel that too. It's been 20 years, and you want to remodel it enough, but you never know what makes it so successful. I'm always worried about acoustics, and this restaurant had some real acoustic problems when I first opened, and I since put in acoustic baffles, if you see them up there, and that's really helped quite a bit.
It's funny too, because prior to coming in here when we were talking, it's like, well, it's lunchtime. Are you sure you want to record here? And are you sure you want to? It was like, yeah, I have, because the ambiance, and isn't that part of it? Okay, just backing up, it's like when I first saw No Reservations, Anthony Bourdain, when I first saw that show, the first iteration, I remember it changed me, because seeing how people ate, seeing how they lived, seeing how they interacted with one another, and realizing that it was altogether different and entirely the same. But where they were doing it kind of dictated the how they were doing it. And that's because of hospitality, and that's because of restaurateurs. And I think that, I'm just curious, when you work on a concept, it has to speak to that. And you take chances, but not everything can be a chance, especially on a restaurant, because they're not cheap.
They're not cheap. Look, it's a hard business. I don't know of a harder business than the restaurant business. The only difference from the hotel and the restaurant business, the hotel closes its doors so you get a peaceful night's sleep. In a hotel, stuff happens at 3 a.m. you don't want to talk about. But I'm just saying, then you get bothered in the middle of the night. Not too often, thank goodness. But there's pros and cons, but this is a hard business. And a lot of people feel they should be in the business because their mother made the best lasagna ever, so they should open an Italian restaurant. That's just one component. If you can't get that lasagna to the table hot, consistently good, with a person smiling serving it to you, bussing it quickly, getting you a cocktail fast, you're done for. And that's what you see. You walk into a restaurant, I'm sure you've had it happen. You walk in a restaurant, you wait 15 minutes to get a drink. Well, that 15 minutes is like waiting at the curb at the airport for someone to pick you up. It's the hardest 15 minutes of your life. So there's a lot of moving components, and that's what you always have to make sure you get right. People want to be treated right, but they want their food quickly, their drinks fast, they want them strong. There's just so many factors to a restaurant. It's just not one thing.
It's funny you say that. There's a restaurant here in Manhattan Beach that shall remain nameless, and it's not yours. But every time I would run with my running group, and every time we would run up Manhattan Beach Boulevard and I would run by it, I'd always give it a sneer because of that very reason. And it's true. And that was like a decade ago. I'm still mad. But it's true. And you talked about Italian cooking. A friend of mine from high school, a guy named Chef Steve Sampson, who owns Rosso Blue. His family from Italy, and every year in high school, I remember he'd go for the summer, and he would spend his summers in Italy and cooking with grandma and grandpa, and they taught him how to cook. And I reconnected with him probably about 8 years ago, and he was on the show, and he said something to me that really stood out. He said, "I'm not an artisan. I'm a craftsman." And I kind of didn't understand what he was saying to me. He was like, "Look, I'm not going to invent anything for you. But if you want a certain dish from northern Italy, I'm going to make it the same way that your grandmother did. So that when you were 8 years old and you put it on the fork and you tasted it, it's going to be exactly the same. There's going to be no difference." And I thought, that's amazing. And then he designed a restaurant that is, the concept is brilliant, the design is exquisite, and it's the same thing like with you. And I think there are good restaurateurs, there are bad restaurateurs, but when you understand that ultimately it goes back to the customer, to the person who comes in to enjoy your hospitality, that speaks to everything.
Your servers, your hosts, your bartender, they are just an extension of me. And if you can't make them be polite and happy and love to come to work, there's nothing worse than a bitter person coming here. If I want bitter, I'll go home. I'm just kidding. But and that's the hardest thing. We call them 51%ers. So we hire these people. We find the yes. If you come in and you say, "Gosh, I love the bread here, but it's Passover, I can't have it." Well, my staff would run across the street, go to Vaughn's, buy some matzah crackers, put them in the oven, bring them out with butter. And that's the stuff that, those are memories that you can't change. So people go, "I can't believe you did that for me." So
I'm trying to imagine, and I'm really excited about asking Noel about this tomorrow, bringing you an unsolicited proposal for a restaurant is first and foremost incredibly bold, incredibly brave, and incredibly genius. And I love that she did that, and I cannot wait to ask her about it. What was your first response and reaction?
When I saw it?
When someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to design your next restaurant," you must get that all the time.
Yeah, but for her to take a crack at it, look, I always say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, you do a real 3D rendering, it's worth an essay. She did a 3D rendering of this restaurant, of what her vision was, and a material board, and submitted it to me. And I could have looked at it and said, "Oh, I like a lot of that. I'm going to take this, this, and this." But I'm an honorable guy. Her and I sit on the same boards here in the Downtown Business Association, and it was such beautiful work. I said, "I'm going to hire her." It was a shocker probably for my team at the office, because I don't usually open up. I use the same web designers. I use the same graphic design teams, and she wiggled her way in, and I'm happy she did. I've already got her working on a new project. I handed her a check yesterday.
Did it change the way you feel or think about design?
No, because I love design. Like from my house to all my different restaurants, I just love design. I just think that she really nailed what I was looking for. I was looking for something that skewed a bit more feminine, and she got it. She understood it.
Do you apply gender to your concepts?
I didn't used to at all, but now there's a lot of ladies in Manhattan Beach, that are looking to dine. And I don't think the dark Brewco previous skewed masculine. And then I figured, well, the men will come if the women come, so let's skew feminine. And it just lightening up did all that.
Well, listen, Michael, this is amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And I think what's cool, too, and just some of the things that I noticed the moment when I walked in, and again, I'm excited to talk to Noelle about it, is the flooring's amazing. The application and technique of stone, and yeah, I noticed the baffling, and it's color coordinated, and the rafters are original. The food's exquisite, and the design and the food combined is what makes this such a great experience, and I absolutely love it. Did you learn anything that you would have done differently?
Yeah, I mean, the Venetian plaster down at floor level's a problem. If you look over there in that corner, see how it's getting scuffed up a little bit on the radius over there? So little things like that, I knew they wouldn't last. I didn't know they wouldn't last that fastly. But, in a restaurant, you've always got the first foot off the floor. Guys are rolling in kegs. They're rolling out mats. There's a lot of uses in a restaurant that are pretty industrial. So I would, if I was to do it over again, I'd keep everything the exact same, except I'd change the bottom 12 inches. Just to make them like concrete, or like that brass that we have around the bar. I would have continued that brass around the hallways. And I might add that later to get rid of this scuffing problem.
The things that nobody but you are going to notice.
Yeah, I notice everything.
Michael, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for coming out.
You are listening to my conversation with, that was Michael Zislis of Brewco. Next up is Noelle Isbell, designer extraordinaire, and you're going to hear her side of it right after this. As a busy professional designer, you know how important it is to find the right partnerships. Partnerships that allow you to specify the right products for every project. Professionals like you don't just have time to sit around and waste, right? So let me tell you about one of my partnerships. Pacific Sales is here to serve you with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commissioned professionals to help you specify the right product for all your projects. Non-commissioned. That means their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that, with over 60 years of service in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. And you will find all your favorite brands, like Monogram, and their commitment to providing exceptional products, starting with materials. Monogram sources commercial-grade stainless steel on their refrigerators, unscratchable sapphire glass on their cooktop knobs, durable marine-grade bearings on their dishwasher racks. Monogram takes inspiration from the leading-edge materials used in the high-end automotive and aeronautics industry to provide you with lasting beauty and exceptional quality. The beauty is backed by the same level of attention to performance, which is why Monogram appliances are trusted and sought after by chefs all over the country. Chain-driven French oven doors that can be opened with one hand, and an industry-exclusive hearth oven that allows for all-electric indoor brick oven-style cooking without the need for external ventilation. These are just a few of the things that make Monogram so special. Pacific Sales features Monogram appliances, and Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team is here to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. And here's the cherry on top, access. Access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands like Monogram. Visit a Pacific Sales showroom today to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, where excellence meets expertise. Man, I love this. I have a new sponsor partner on the show that I want to introduce you to if you're not already familiar with them. If you are a specifying designer, architect, landscape architect, or savvy design enthusiast, if you have heard about the quiet luxury movement, this idea of crafting a lifestyle around understated elegance, simplicity, and sophistication, there's more to it than that. And I will add uncomplicated living. Isn't that what we all strive for? I am extremely happy. I'm really thrilled to share a company that embodies all of this, utilizing proprietary technology and a focus on sustainability in their stunningly beautiful products. It's TimberTech. TimberTech is the premium decking company delivering multi-tonal, color blending, and natural wood textures. in a product that is virtually indistinguishable from a natural wood product. What does this mean? It means it's everything wood should be. A beautiful look that blends seamlessly with a well-designed space, providing years of enjoyment and performs the way you want it to. No splintering, fading, peeling, cracking, or rotting. I had a wood deck at our Manhattan Beach home, and I gotta tell you, it was exasperating every year doing the random board flip, taking out nails, resetting them, restaining them. It was a complete pain. It was complicated, and I didn't look forward to it. I wish I had TimberTech, because TimberTech is not only uncomplicated, it's beautiful. It comes in over 20 finish options and 9 collections, and 85% of the material is recycled. This is premium decking for your next project. Learn more and specify it for your next design project. TimberTech on the socials or timbertech.com, where you can find a retailer near you, as well as a number of tools to create, design, order samples, and get the expert help you may need. TimberTech is uncomplicated luxury and performs. It's your choice for your next deck project.
Hi, my name is Noelle Isbell. I live in Manhattan Beach. I have a furniture showroom and a design studio. We've actually been there for celebrating our 10th year this past June. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. So the first thing that I have to say, Noelle, is you are savage. You are. So I'm talking to Michael Zislis, restaurateur, yesterday, and we're sitting in Brewco, which is this. Now, Manhattan Beach is home for me.
Oh, really?
So
Cool.
I've been living in Manhattan Beach since I was 18.
Okay.
My family started moving in the 1970s, so I've been going to Manhattan Beach since I was a little kid.
Sure.
I know it like the back of my hand. I told Michael I worked at and had been fired from almost every restaurant up and down Manhattan Beach Boulevard when I was going through college. I know Brewco.
Yeah.
I spent time in Brewco.
Mm-hmm.
I remember vividly the before. And we're sitting in this restaurant that you designed. And I said to him, so how did this happen? Because normally you have a different design. He's like, oh, well, this designer, without me asking her, brought me a design. Didn't just say I should be your designer, brought ideas, brought like what the design looked like, that is savage.
It's so true. I completely approached MZ. So I got wind that he was redoing Brewco, and it's like home to me, that place, similar to you. I moved to Manhattan Beach 20 years ago, and it actually was the very first restaurant I ever went to. So it's a bit of home to me for that. And as you know, it's right in the middle of town, right? Right on our Pier Avenue. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do in that spot when I saw that there was opportunity. So yeah.
Okay, so let's dig into that for a minute.
Yeah.
By the way, what year did you move to Manhattan Beach?
04.
04.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay. It was a different place.
It was, yeah.
And a different time.
Yeah.
But here's what you did. You took, okay. So I sat down with Michael and we talked about the restaurant a little bit, but for those listening, here's what you need to understand. The restaurant is on Manhattan Beach Boulevard. You have windows at the front, and then you go further back, kitchen all the way in the back, but the dining room pulls pretty far back into it. You have the bar on one side, you have seating on the other. What you did, color palette, keeping some of the original features like the brick, like the beams, but there was some noise abatement panels added. That wasn't really part of the design, I don't think, but we'll get into that. But what you did with this place to lighten and brighten, your lighting plan is amazing. Walk me through this. What was your inspiration for this?
The inspiration really for me, I wanted to create this elegant social atmosphere where people just wanted to come together and have fun. So I really wanted to evoke kind of like a place where we think of when we think of going on holiday. So for me, that really transpired stylistically through elements from the Mediterranean. So you'll see I introduced archways and curves. So like all the booths, for example, how they have that curvaceous, the concept behind that was so that everybody had a good seat. You know, no matter if you're, as you say, in the back of the restaurant or in the front where you can watch the sunset. We plastered the walls, we whitewashed that existing brick, we preserved the rafters. And then, yeah, with the lighting, like that was like the jewelry, right? Like I didn't want to have something direct, so you see a lot of the illuminated LED, lighting so that it makes you feel pretty and sexy, but there was still elements of jewelry. So we, did touches of brass. And so as you know, like it's like I wanted a casual atmosphere, but I also wanted to feel elegant and pretty in a place you can get dressed up for. So yeah.
And we also, because with Michael, one of the things that I find so interesting, and I really got into this with him, having Manhattan Beach as home for me, what it did is it gave me a frame of reference that I don't often have to discuss with people in what I do, because I don't live, if I'm talking to somebody about a project in Beverly Hills, I don't live in Beverly Hills. I can't really tell you what that's like. But because this is home, I can tell you what it's like. And because Michael is such a remarkable restaurateur, and what he's done with the Strand House and with Shade and with Brewco and with Rock & Fish, and it's amazing. But here's what's really cool. I feel like the way that a restaurant fits into the culture of the community is so important. It makes the community, especially for the people who live there.
Yep.
And the design is so crucial to what that does. What you also did is you added, and it's amazing, a feminine side to a restaurant, which made it so that women feel more comfortable. I don't know you tell me what the inspiration is, but that women feel more comfortable going in by themselves, and you can it can be a group of ladies having lunch while the kids are at school or whatever. There's a different feel to it than any of these other concepts, but it still fits into the construct of the community, and I think that's amazing.
Aw, thank you. As you know, like Manhattan Beach, what makes it so charming, I think, is that, we're a community of people that go to the beach on the weekends with their families, and we like to get dressed up for dinner at night, We're barefoot in the sand, but maybe we could throw on some, nicer shoes for the evening. Again, just to take it back, I really wanted that social setting and for it to feel like home for people, like you said, during lunch or people for dinner. So that really was, for me, it dialed into, again, places that make me feel happy. And that's really holiday. And that was really created by the lighting and the organic nature. We used real stone travertine and not just shiny porcelain, all those little organic touches and every single detail that I thought of and brought to the table. It was such a fun ride because, from the very beginning of our concept, Zislis and his team and his architect were done, let's do it. And it was fantastic. If we were introducing something that maybe, Zislis hasn't done in one of his other restaurants, he's like, I can't wait to figure out how to do it. There was no cutting corners. He just wanted to dial it all in. I've never met someone that cares so much about his community, his restaurants, and this project. So it was really fun teaming with those guys. So
for me, I feel like that's where design really comes home. No pun intended, but pun fully intended. That's where design really comes home. And when you talk about Michael Zislis and his restaurants, because this is what I know. Because I live in Manhattan Beach, my kids went to school there. Yeah. I played on the soccer tournament that his wife did. I didn't play with his wife, but different times. But the same group, the Goodrich Foundation soccer tournament, of which Michael and I first met because he was a sponsor of it.
Okay.
And that's why when you have someone, and here's the point of a very long-winded question, when you have someone who is so emotionally invested in a community, building a restaurant and sparing no expense to make sure that it fits the community, that it becomes something that betters a community. And then you have a designer who can fit that vision. And, just getting into it, and again, with the lighting plan, that's one thing, but then the actual lighting fixtures, the metals against the travertine, against the old brick, against the natural rough-hewn wood.
Yep.
That fits your multi-millionaire, billionaire actor just popping in off their surfboard, off the beach, and coming in flip-flops with sand on, which he even mentioned he'll never do wood floors at the beach again.
Yeah, stone floors.
Yeah, but the travertine on the walls and just
Right.
sort of this overall design concept, which is at such a high level, that also, I'm curious, did you consider the menu in your design?
Well, not really, because we were still building and molding that. So I think it was almost a culmination of the inspiration I brought to the table, the marketing side really coming in on this logo and maintaining the name, but introducing social to it, right? And then when we were developing the menu and sitting down with these plates we were going to touch and feel, it's almost like we were changing as we go and making it all like harmonize, And so when I had my first drink and it was fluttered with like a real flower, I'm like, oh, this is the essence of what it's like, Like I could be in thongs, but I still have a martini in my hand with a beautiful flower from nature. So like you said, hopefully, like just like the menu, like it caters to all sorts of people and styles, and it's a place where I think you should feel like you're just coming together to have a great time. So,
How'd you get started?
in interior design?
Yeah.
Well, very shortly after I graduated with my degree in interior design, I am originally from the East Coast. I drove out to California.
Of course you did.
Yep. First time to California, my dad said to me once he was afraid if I ever went to California, I would never come back, and he was right. But yeah, I landed a job with a local architect in Manhattan Beach. This was in '04. We worked together for 4 years, and then I ended up opening up my own firm. So yeah, I now have a store on Manhattan Avenue and my design studio, and it's also a furniture showroom. And we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
And the furniture.
Yeah.
Does the furniture coincide with a particular design style of yours, or do you change it up?
Well, obviously we cater to any design, and to that, but naturally I'm a modern interpretation stylistically of anything, any project we're given probably. Personally, I love the Mediterranean. I like to evoke happiness and cheer and social, vibe. I'm also married to an Australian, and they tend to have that, chasing summer, kind of mentality. So I think that's a common thread in my designs, yes.
I love that. What do you primarily work on? Is it residential? Restaurant, was that a one-off for you, or have you done restaurants before?
I had done a couple restaurants in Manhattan Beach and Redondo, so this was the first, the biggest thing to my heart, I guess, because it was right in the middle of town, and it was from the very beginning with the architect. I'd say this is one of the bigger restaurants, but primarily we do high-end custom residential design. And I probably work with 100 different homeowners just in Manhattan Beach alone, like in the course of my career. So that's really what I thought I was bringing to the table, is what I really think that the community wanted, and so yeah, that was really fun for me.
And it's been interesting, too, how a city like Manhattan Beach has changed so dramatically. How has that change in a community affected your design?
Well, I think, we're catering to this small, charming town. Most of us that have stores, we're just local business owners. We're probably walking to work. I drive my little golf cart. So we're still trying to keep that local, business. We live and work where we are in Manhattan Beach. Obviously, with the real estate market, it's really bringing in people that are buying properties and creating these homes that they don't live in, So that's bringing the luxury side where it's out of it's money out of our town. But it's also helping build our town. We're locally as businesses doing better because of it. It's how I've probably had my doors open for 10 years. And I just think we're naturally wanting to maintain, and we always will want to maintain that heartbeat of, our charming little town. But we're naturally going to grow just like any other city that gets found.
So I'm going to ask you, last question I'm going to ask you, and it's funny because I told Michael this yesterday that it's so funny. Over the last couple of years, I've started asking, let's manifest something here. If you could design anything, let's put it out there, let's manifest it. Most people would say, most designers that I've spoken to said they would love to design a restaurant. Would love to design a restaurant. You've done restaurants now. So if you had to manifest it, if you had to throw it out there and design something that you've never designed before, what would it be?
Oh, I'm on this restaurant wave right now. I will tell you that. I'm absolutely enjoying it. I'm a super social person. I hope I get to do many more in Manhattan Beach and, outside of Manhattan Beach. But I think the next biggest step for me would getting into the hotel industry. So again, it's just catering to where people like to come together, have fun, and a place where I can go afterwards with my friends and my family to enjoy it. So
if there were only somebody that we knew that has hotels, wouldn't that be great? I'm not saying anyone in particular.
We might have him in common.
Nobody in particular. But I hope that happens for you. I really do, because I would love to see it.
Thanks, Josh.
Yep. And if you're listening and you're interested, and of course you are, go to the show notes and you'll see a link to Noel's website and to the projects, and also to Brewco and to the images of the restaurant, so you can see what it is that we're talking about, because it's really amazing. It's spectacular. And what's so special about it too, it's not huge. It's not. It's not this over, and I think that there's something jewel box like about spectacular design in smaller spaces. While it's not tiny, it's not huge, and I think that's one of the things that makes it so special. So amazing job.
Thank you very much.
Design Hardware's newly remodeled showroom is where you will find a gallery-style space with a thoughtful display of products, purposefully positioned to allow unbridled exploration and discovery. High-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware selections are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find your inspiration. Collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your shopping list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles.
Thank you, Noel and Michael. Thank you for creating something that makes me feel like home. Thank you to my partners, sponsors, Thermosol, Pacific Sales, TimberTech, Monogram, and Design Hardware. These partners are amazing companies, all of which who have made a concerted effort to support the design community through education, events, incentives, media, and exposure, not to mention a collection of extraordinary products and services to match. So check the show notes for links to each of them so you can see firsthand how they can make your design business thrive and your projects exceed expectations. Thank you for listening, downloading, subscribing, and sharing the show with your friends and colleagues. Thank you for your emails, show, and guest suggestions. Please keep them coming. Convo by Design at Outlook.com and on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X. Until the next episode, be well and take today first.